They say man's contribution could raise the ocean temperatures maybe 1 degree in 100 years. Well, that's because we don't affect it. We only affect the surface, because as soon as you drop down even a couple feet in any body of water, a lake, the ocean, you notice quickly how quickly everything cools. So these natural cycles, these natural events are what are contributing to climate change.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
And welcome back to InfoWars with Alex Jones. And this is Dr. Nick Begich standing in for this last hour on a Friday. It's July 6th, 2018. And I always forget to mention my website. I want to mention it now. Please check us out at Earth Pulse, EARTHPULSE, earthpulse.com. And you can link up to some of the things that we've been doing lately, some of the lectures I've got coming up. One in August in LA and later in October in the Denver area. But check us out at earthpulse.com. I am really privileged to be here and appearing more regularly on InfoWars with Alex. I'm going to be back again on the 20th of July and then most of the Fridays through August. It's an opportunity to really talk about science in a different way and some of the issues that are plaguing us. For those that don't know me, I come from a very political background here in my region of the state. I'm one of the more conservative members of my family, although we cover it all. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, and Independents. And it makes for an interesting dynamic. My dad was a United States Congressman, my brother a U.S. Senator, my other brother is a state senator, my mom was a National Committee woman a couple of times, and I was an activist both in the Alaska Independence Party and was a keynote this last year with the Libertarians here in Alaska 3rd Convention. So a lot of different politics, but today we've been talking about climate change from a very different perspective, quite contrarian. I know some of my liberal friends are going to be really angry at me because they bought they bought the Kool-Aid, so to speak. You know, the thing about just before the break, we were talking about solar activity being the biggest contributor, and I mentioned again, BBC actually tracked this and shows a direct correlation between solar activity and of course, the climate change and global warming. You can go back historically. You know, back in several hundred years ago, there was a time where we had a mini ice age, you know, where there was a point where things stayed frozen. I mean, you could walk across the Hudson River at New York and ice skate on it, you know, during those years. Climate does go through cycles, and largely by the fact of nature, not man. Again, the kind of things that are happening right now, the Aleutian chain out off of the coast of Alaska is another place where back in the early, or in the 1990s, we had a period where for one summer, maybe 2 summers, the ocean temperatures in the Gulf of Alaska, south of me, south from Anchorage, went up 15 degrees in 1 year. Now, what in the heck could cause a 15-degree temperature change? They couldn't figure it out because they're all looking at the surface. They're all looking at the sun. They're all looking at human beings. What they weren't looking at is the Aleutian Trench, which is this volcanic part of the ring of fire surrounding the Pacific Ocean in the North Pacific. At any given time on the Aleutian chain, basically just hundreds of miles from the coast of Japan and stretching all the way back to North America, is a chain of volcanoes. At any given time, 3 or 4 of them are going off on the surface, and a lot is going on underneath where heat is being released, and 100%, all of that heat energy is absorbed into ocean and moves. Now, those ocean temperatures have a huge effect on what's going on the surface of the Earth, because the way in which the ocean currents move affects jet streams and other systems in terms of how the atmosphere dissipates its heat and how it dissipates its moisture. And when you see these kinds of changes, big swings occur where areas that were cold become warm, areas that were warm become cooler because of a general disruption in the jet streams and normal flows that we're used to in terms of climate. If you look in the Caribbean area, there's undersea volcanics there. Now, we all know that as the oceans heat up in that region, We get more severe hurricanes. So ocean temperatures matter, not just from what's going on the surface, but what's going on at depth. If you look at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is this fault system that goes right through the middle of the Atlantic, and all along it are volcanic, starting in Iceland and going all the way down into the Canary Islands, which are volcanic islands. And always there's a certain amount of magma that's being released, and this is well documented throughout the record. And this adds and alters the heat within the oceans because it changes from time to time. There's periods where there's lots of activity, like we're seeing in Hawaii right now, where you have volcanic activity that's happening and wiping out some homes and taking out a chunk of that island because that island is over a hot spot that has moved over time. It used to be Maui, the next one over, and then Oahu, and then others. All those volcanics are extinct because the hot spot has moved, and now it's the main island of Hawaii. But at any given time, a tremendous amount of heat energy is released in the oceans, and at various times, it goes up and down and can be directly related to the temperatures within the oceans. They say man's contribution could raise the ocean temperatures maybe 1 degree in 100 years. Well, that's because we don't affect it. We only affect the surface because as soon as you drop down even a couple feet in any body of water, a lake, the ocean, you notice quickly how quickly everything cools. So these natural cycles, these natural events are what are contributing to climate change today. And what's missing is here's everybody fighting over the cause. And I think this is a foolish fight to have. The real recognition is it is change. It's not going to reverse. It is nature, which means we need a more comprehensive national policy in our security interest to look at food, water, production as the agricultural footprint starts to move north. Canada is going to become one of the best agricultural belts in the world. As you see these changes occurring, this is where the big changes in terms of our economy can be greatly affected. You know, we produce a lot of food for the rest of the world in the United States. And as our food production footprint changes, so does our ability to supply the world with its food. And again, when we think about climate change as an impact, we need to acknowledge that this is happening. Forget the cause for a moment, and let's begin to look at our food, our water, our infrastructure, our coastal areas. In Alaska, 60 coastal communities are eroding. You never hear about it because nobody hardly at all lives there. You know, we have some communities where the elders remember lakes in front of their homes and a couple-mile walk to the coast. The coast is lapping at their door today. And it's not because of what man did, it's because of what nature is doing. And this is going to continue and accelerate over the next several decades. I went back before the segment today and looked at what I had recorded 14 years ago. You can hear it today. Nothing's changed. It's the same position as I had then, and the facts bear it out even more today than they did then. But the climate, political climate of not being able to tell the truth, to not be able to talk about the real causes of climate change, has suppressed science in way too many ways. And a lawsuit just thrown out of the courts where the environmental community is suing the major oil companies for changing the climates of the planet. This is ridiculous. And this is, again, the latest and greatest way for the environmental community to raise money to solve a problem that doesn't even exist as far as man is concerned. Now, there are things that I need to say about that. Is the reason I've not objected to the complaint about particulates in the upper atmosphere is because there is a problem with heavy metals and pollutants that are being put into the environment that are very dangerous. A lot of these chemicals are leading to false estrogens being put into the environment that leads to a feminization of species. You can look at the work of MIT scientists under a book called Our Stolen Future, which really gets into that whole aspect. But these issues are also important. As stewards to the planet, we need to be concerned about these things as good stewards. However, attributing the climate change to man is a red herring. It is not the nature of it. It's a very different situation. We just touched on the subject a little bit today. We'll get into that perhaps a little bit more in our next time we're on, and that'll be the 4th hour on July 20th. And this has been Nick Begich, and you're listening to InfoWars. And please check out my website, earthpulse.com. And remember, support Alex Jones, support this network and the good people behind it. And that's the way we change the world, one step at a time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. This is Dr. Nick Begich signing off.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Donald Trump.
I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my cell, my pager, and my home phone at the bottom. I sent 2 letters back in autumn. You must not have got them. There probably was a problem at the post office or something. Sometimes I scribble addresses too sloppy when I jot them. But anyways, what's up, man? How's your daughter? I know you probably hear this every day, but I'm your biggest fan. Anyways, I hope you get this, man. Hit me back, just a chat. Truly yours.
I can't stand that motherfucker, and I feel like he's not paying attention to me.
Okay.
And I was kind of waiting for him to say something.
Like his Twitter fingers, yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason, he didn't say anything.
Extendowise, the latest product from InfoWarsLife.com, fuses all the known compounds that have been proven to be good for our hearts and cardiovascular system. And listen, everybody's got a heart. Well, actually, maybe Hillary and George Soros don't, but everybody else has a heart, and this product is amazing. So, if you have a heart and you want the very best product out there that's designed to aid a healthy heart and cardiovascular system, it's Extendowise, available at InfoWarsLife.com. And like all of our products are game changers, this baby is the most souped up, awesome version the top formulators could come up with and still be affordable. It's one of the very best heart pills out there. It's Extendowise. So, get some for yourself and family and friends. It's got the very best fish oil from the fjords. It's very, very pure, very, very clean, and has the EPA type that is specifically good for the heart, cardiovascular system. It's got the properly formulated type of CoQ10 and more. It is Extendowise, now available at InfoWarsLife.com.